Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Darth Logos, and this is the show in which we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of Heroclix. And that's what we normally do, and not so much today. It's the 50th episode. Yeah! Alright. It's been on for production for almost 2 weeks now. Had lots of setbacks. A lot of various different things happen. So a lot of things that I had planned for the 50th episode didn't really go through. So what I decided to do is, since I usually bring guests on and have them sort of say like how they got into HeroClix and what makes them tick, I'm sort of doing a introspective show. It's going to more be about, my life, who I am outside of the game, and, stuff along that line. So if you're not interested in that, sorry. I know this is going to sort of suck for you, that you're going to end up waiting, 3 weeks for another tactical show. If you're interested and always wondered these things, hey, there you go. Also, for the international people that are not in the United States, what's up to you? I never thought I'd be talking to people in other countries, if I wasn't in person. So it's a real honor to speak with all of you all. I could tell from looking at my subscriptions, from all you all up in Canada. Then there was somebody somewhere else I can't remember right now. All right, so let's get into it. Pretty much, I'm very much a thinker person. I was the kid in elementary school in which everyone was cheating, cheating off my homework and off of what I was doing. I was doing most of the legwork because I was the smart kid and I knew what was going on. And that sort of continued for a bit. Then, my grades dropped, over time, just because you get frustrated getting used and things become boring. When a teacher doesn't keep your attention, doesn't keep you interested, doesn't keep you involved, that's when the education system for me, started to fail. I went into middle school, and it's like trying to be a solid student in the midst of, I would hate to say it's like gangster's paradise, up in the school. You're talking the 90s, and it's not even close to, have to be fearing about like a Columbine or something up in your school, but still you had to think about what was going to go on outside. Was somebody going to get beat up really bad? Were people going to, act crazy? And so it was frustrating. It was frustrating. But I went through middle school, and it was one of those situations in which I got good grades. And I paid attention, and I saw people acting stupid, but, I really wasn't doing the stupid stuff. When I finished, 8th grade, I was faced with a bunch of different challenges. The first off was Kansas City public school system had lost its desegregation money because it couldn't prove that desegregation was working and the benefit for African Americans or other minorities, which is sort of true, because if you looked at the Kansas City just public schools, what would happen is that what would be considered your minority population was literally 85 to 95% of your public school population. Your Caucasian population was somewhere else. You might be lucky to have 5% Caucasian population for Kansas City public schools at that time. I know for a fact, when I was in middle school, the number of Caucasians in the school, I think when I went through my yearbook, I think I counted 10. and you're talking about 3 grades. You have 10 Caucasians, and everybody else is either African American or Latino. So it skews your perspective on things. Uh, it really does, because when I was in elementary school, I saw tons of I saw Asian kids, I saw Caucasian kids. I had my best friends. I had a Vietnamese friend, Chinese friend, uh, black friends, white friends, Hispanic friends. It was an episode of Captain Planet. Okay, and then all of a sudden you go to middle school, bam, your racial dynamics change. So I'm not stupid. I have a family full of educators and teachers, and I sit and I listen, and you hear about things such as redlining, and uh, about how difficult it was for my grandfather to get my grandmother, my father, and my aunt into the neighborhood in which they owned their house, just because African Americans were barred off from that neighborhood. So when you hear these conversations and you watch your roots and you read your Black history stuff, you start to become bitter. And for me, I became racist, very racist. I hated white people, very bluntly hated white people, because I sort of saw it as uh, my education system it was a action of discrimination. It was an action of hatred. It was an action of fear of the Caucasian community in my area, that they wouldn't even send their kids to the same public school that I'm going to. So the public school was good enough for the black people, but it wasn't good enough for the white people. And so that was my logic at that period of time. And it was tough. So I was at 8th grade. I was faced with this decision. My family was faced with this decision that I could go to public school, and they said they were going to send me to Central High School, which was supposed to be a science and technology school, and it really wasn't that good of a school. It was one of those cases in which they spent a lot of money on the building, but they didn't really work on the culture that was there. And you had situations in which kids were being shot. Kids were being shot uh, outside by the school bus, on a frequent basis. So much so that, Kansas City Police Department was out there every day when the kids were going home and when they got off the bus. So my family was like, well, we can't really do this. What are the other options on the table? And so started looking at, private schools. And this is like really when the internet started to be, hey, you can get the internet in your home and you can get a 56K modem and it's all good. And it's like, wow, I could have a modem and I can get on the internet. And so one of the schools I visited had a very small library, but they were going to try to compensate their very small library by having, the internet. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And so I'm looking up all this stuff, and it's a private school. That's predominantly African American, and they're interested. And I spent a day there. I thought, oh gosh, this is awesome. Then I went to Rockhurst. I spent a day at Rockhurst High School, and it was complete opposite. It was 98% Caucasian. And so in my head, I snapped. I'm like, okay, this is where all the white people at. They're in private schools. And I found something interesting, that I found a place in which I could excel, that challenged me more than the previous school. But I also thought, like, okay, I can be up here. I can be up here. So when we narrowed it down between Bishop Hogan and Rockhurst, we went with Rock. And I would say it was probably the biggest game changing decision in my life. Uh, More so than public speaking, and and yeah, you can sort of tell. Like, yeah, he has a debate background. Yeah, I did public speaking, even in middle school and through high school. But if I didn't go to Rockhurst, there's a lot of things that wouldn't have changed in me. When I went to Rockhurst, and you go from a majority understanding of you're a majority, and you understand some racial dynamics in one way, to being in a minority, and it's like, oh shoot, your perspectives change, and so now I'm forced to deal with white people in mass, and so I start having some white friends, and then you start thinking like, okay, where are my perspectives at? Where my perspective's wrong? And I could say some of my anger towards a lot of my anger towards white people went away. A lot of my anger towards educational system just grew. I was at the end of my middle school years, I was a 3.8 GPA student. Okay, in public school, quote unquote, magical fingers dancing up and down. Okay, once I entered Rockhurst, which is one of the highest rated uh, high schools in the nation, in the United States. I went from being the top of the top of the top to the bottom of the bottom. My GPA my first semester was like 1.5, and you need a 2.0 to stay in the school. So I got kicked out of the play, uh, and they put me on academic probation, and they said pretty much, hey man, if you don't get your grades up, you're out. And I realized at that point that this was like my one chance to avoid ghetto education, to actually move up and go somewhere, instead of just being another statistic, which I hate to say is what public schools generate in the urban core of where I was at. Um, and when I looked at the type of education, the type of questions I was asked, the type of situations that I was placed in, I realized it's not about money. It's not about how much money that you throw at the kids. It's about how are you using that money, and also how are the parents involved. And, you know, I did a whole lot of side education stuff just so I could keep up. And most people don't even have that concept of, hey, I have to educate my kids. It's not the state's responsibility. I have to educate my kids. And so when I see a completely different culture shift, then a lot of things started going off in my head. So anyway, while I was in Rockhurst High School, trying to get my grades to something that seemed close to a normal student, I was doing chess club my freshman year. And I did chess since I was maybe 7 years old. And I always thought it was fun. I did like a little mini chess tournament when I was a kid. And then I didn't really get to play that much in middle school. Mostly in middle school, it was you played chess to just prove that you were smart, and then everybody else would like throw stuff at you. Yeah, that's pretty much accurate. Yeah, they would throw stuff at you. Then in high school, I was like, okay, I'm good at chess, and so a couple of the people I was playing with chess, I'm still pretty good friends with them. And I went to chess nationals my freshman year. And people don't be like, oh my gosh, he went to chess nationals. He must have been great. Like, no. Like, you just pay your money and you go. Like, literally, you pay your money. You pay your money for your subscription, for your membership. They send you a chess magazine every month, which is it's a pretty good magazine, mind you. I'll say that much. Um, and then you just go and you play in your division. Now you have other tournaments throughout the year that can affect your ranking, but really, when it all comes down to it, your your advancement in the line between your rating and then you going into the next bracket is sort of, it matters, but most people don't care. That's when I start to learn a lot of the foundations of what I'm giving you in the show. When I was doing chess, about, baiting, about overall tactics, also about some of the psychology of the game. And I'm going to I'm going to compress some things about chess in life, and I'm going to compress it down into several little stories. And you're going to probably laugh at these. Okay. I don't know if this was my junior year or my senior year at Chess Nationals. But pretty much I'm at Chess Nationals. I think I'm 3-2, which you got to understand is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. And I'm still on the top half of the players. So I'm 3-2. And I go and I get my pairings, and so you write your pairings down, and you go to you find your number that you match up with. And so all the boards are numbered with 2 numbers. So in the center of the board, you see, let's say if your number is 55, and then your opponent is 102. So you will see a piece of paper that says 55 black, 102 white. You'll never play black or white 2 turns in a row. Okay, so if you start the tournament black, since there's 7 games, you're going to play 4 games black, 4 games white. If you start white, you're going to play 4 games white, 3 games black. Anyway, so I sit down, and there's this girl on the other side. So now, no, she's okay looking. She's not that great looking chick, but she's okay. She sets up. She's like, is this where I'm supposed to be? And I'm like, yeah, this is where you're supposed to be. So we set up, and she proceeds to put this gigantic, ugly-looking plastic rat thing on the table. And I'm like, that is horrendous. I wouldn't say I'm getting nauseous looking at it, but it's sickening to look at. So then she starts sort of trying to flirt with me and trying to play footsies with me under the table. I'm just putting my feet back because I'm like, chick, I'm really not feeling you in that ugly rat. And I'm not stupid. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me distracted so you can get this win. Now, no, this is not every female opponent I have played. This is just this chick, okay? So, the game starts. I'm looking at this rat. This chick's still trying to play footsie with me. And I'm like, this is stupid. So, about 7 moves in, I'm like, I call the judge. And I'm like, Judge, this rat is distracting. I asked her to take it down. She won't take it down. So the judge says, you have to take it down or else you forfeit. And so she takes it down. So she stops playing footsie with me, and then she really tries to play a real serious game of chess. Because once she realized that the 3-move opener there's like a 3 or 4 move combo that you can do with bishop queen. To a stupid opponent, you can get checkmate real easily. Okay? So once her queen bishop combo failed, she realized she had to play a real game of chess. Now that her little psychological advantage and her little footsie crap was gone. And she got the clue that I wasn't feeling her. So, lo and behold, because she did that very, very stupid opening to do at Nationals, because everybody has practiced to actually be aware of that combo. Okay, so I set up this pretty much a situation in which she had any move that she does forced an exchange in which she would not come out ahead. So she just sat there. Now, no, we have chess clocks. All right. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, your clock is going down. And I don't care. So she then tries to like rush a move. And then I'm like, okay, boom. I put off my combo. I cleared off a good chunk of pieces. I'm literally primed after the exchange to promote a pawn to a queen. And she's just staring at the map again. So then I have to call the judge and like, Judge, she's stalling. She hasn't made a move in 5 minutes. And then the judge comes in and says, yes, okay, you're stalling, because there is stalling in chess. And pretty much said, you have to make a move. So she makes her move. We go on a little bit more, and then she flags, and I win. And it was one of the worst games of Heroclix. I mean, not Heroclix, of chess that I have ever played. But it's one that's, stuck in my mind. It's one that's stuck in my mind. Another one from chess that really stuck in my mind is one time we went out to Paola, Kansas, and Paola, Kansas is the area in which my dad was preaching at the time as a pastor. And so I was out there, and we faced some pretty good competition before, and I think this is like my senior year this time. We faced some, this is junior year. We faced some pretty good competition before, but, you have kids that have been playing competitively for 3 years. And I would say, to add into the story, after my freshman year, I sort of backed off chess a bit, and it pissed off my team because I was really doing speech and debate. And when you start comparing, hey, I get medals in chess and trophies in speech and debate, and I very regularly get trophies, the reward in your brain, that little Pavlov thing that goes off in your brain says trophies are better. But I did, whenever I had off weekends, because Missouri would limit how many tournaments that you could go to. When I had off weekends, that's when I would actually go and play chess. So anyway, this is one of the weekends I'm playing chess. And so it's hilarious because I had not played a serious match all year. This is like the end of the first semester. I have not played a serious tournament all year. I go 4-2. I think the top board I ended at was 10, which you have to understand. For you, you have boards like 1 through 50. If you end at 10 or higher means really you're one of the best players at the tournament. And your ranking does matter. Your rating does matter. Your school's total rating sort of matters. But for my school, they've won tournaments when I was away. And but it was the first time that we swept a tournament. Like, I think I got like 9th place. It was either 9th or 11th place, which I never got that high before. And in our team, we got first place in the tournament. And so that was one of my highs of playing chess. The other, and the last chess story I'll tell you is like no, it wasn't my senior year. It's my sophomore year. This one's a sophomore year chess story. So my family is proud of me going to chess nationals again, and I sort of am happy a little bit too, No, it wasn't sophomore year. This was junior year. Sorry, this was junior year. No, crap. No, this is freshman year. This is freshman year because this is where I learned the food lesson. Yeah. You know, memory people, when you get older, it's not always the greatest. And I'm 30. Anyway, my freshman year, we go up to chess nationals. And I'm dealing with this cat. And he's like a Marilyn Manson Satanist. And I do literally mean Satanist. Like, he's not Luciferian. He's not Wiccan. The dude's Satanist. And he's up there, and he's a singer, and he's up there saying the entire time, like, you know, give me and sell me your soul, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, dude, leave me alone, for real. Like, I'm not doing that. So I had, like, left some food on the bus. Like I drank like a juice thing or whatever. And I left it on the bus, and I forgot where we were at, but it was hot. It was hot because chess nationals is really like at the end of the school year. So we're heading back home from chess nationals. Dude, still trying to steal my soul, and this is the main thing I remembered is he's trying to steal my soul. So I'm like, I'm tired of this, and I'm thirsty. So I go up, and I dig through my stuff, and I get this thing of juice. And now, note, this juice has preservatives in it. Okay, well, it's supposed to have preservatives in it. So I open it up, you know, reopen it, take a swig. Dude, it fermented while it was in the bus. Now, it wasn't enough to get, you know, tipsy off of, or even get any form of drunk. Okay, but it fermented, so I'm laughing. And then the dude that's trying to, you know, steal my soul, he's like, hey, what is that? And I'm like, man, my juice tastes like wine. And I was about to joke and say, it's a miracle. And anyway, so everybody on the bus all of a sudden wanted to drink my juice. So, like, I pass it around to people, and when it gets back to me, it's completely gone. So yeah, there's, and of course, the dude that stole my soul, wanted to steal my soul, wanted a hit of my juice. So anyway, that's pretty much what happened with chess. But I went through, mainly did public speaking. I did, and for those people that did public speaking, you're going to, like, look at me and, like, you're crazy. I did poetry. I'm the 1997 Missouri Poetry State Champion. I did original oratory. I did dramatic interpretation. I'm the 2000. I was the 2000. I was going to be the 2000 rep in dramatic interpretation, going to NFL nationals, but we had a different rule because I also did duo, and I was also first place in my team was first place in duo. For that year as well. And they have a rule that if you do anything with a partner, you have to do the event with a partner, and the thing with you do by yourself, you have to give that one up. So it's like, okay. I did. Also, I am the American Legion Missouri State Champion in original oratory and extemp. So for 2000. Then I did, let's see, crap, I forgot what else I did. I never did humorous interpretation. I was bad at that. I did extempt, like, not in high school. I did that in college. Let's see, I did, impromptu, which was fun. That was the funnest thing I ever did. I never went far in it, but it was the funnest thing I ever did. I did dramatic interpretation. I did poetry, prose, Lincoln Douglas debate. I never did cross-ex because that was stupid. You had to talk like your mouth was a hummingbird. Then I did Congress, at the end of the year because everyone that was desperate to go to nationals and wanted one last shot did Congress. So I did Congress. So I did all those things in high school, and you can sort of see like why I didn't do chess as much. When you're getting, I got like a whole lot of trophies, and like one day with enough demand, I will do a video or do a picture and show everyone the amount of trophies that I have from doing public speaking. So I did public speaking. I was known in high school as Preacher Man. I was Edward the Preacher Man Shelton. I had that on my letter jacket, and it was interesting when you have a culture of guys that you go through high school with, and when you come in as freshmen, they say, you're the largest freshman class that we've ever had. And you're like, yay, look to your left, look to your right. By the time you hit senior year, a third of you will not be here. And you're like, what? Did I sign up for the military? But in dealing with that reality, I thought, this wasn't true. And then as time progressed, I started to realize it was. And that it wasn't that the fact that people are weak and they couldn't handle the education and I was strong. There's a bunch of different things. Some people didn't do their homework. Some people were tired of being at an all-boys school. Some people were just frustrated because their parents made them, be there, so they acted out. And lo and behold, you had a lot of people that I liked just, disappeared over time. But as you grow from class to class, I was sort of conscious to people. Because freshman year we were getting picked on. Then sophomore year you see those same kids that were getting picked on picking on freshmen. So I whenever I saw that, I was like, man, you don't do that. You didn't like it when it was done to us. I had some cats that I mentored and sort of looked out for. And one of them plays professional baseball now. Which I'm not going to name his name, but he plays professional baseball now. So and he also looked after my brother when he went through Rockhurst. So that was sort of a benefit. But yeah, at going through high school was fun. I got to speak at my graduation. And it was one of those things that I really did pray on and really was like, Lord, I really want to be a person that's able to represent my class in front of everybody. And so I got picked to give our intro, the introduction, and pretty much sum up the spirit of our class with another gentleman. And it was fun. And I would say when I look back at life overall, I can't deny the impact that my high school had on me to the formation of who I am today, even having this show, how I break things down. It was all my high school education. Going into college was a little bit darker because I had half tuition because of doing speech and debate. I had probably like the largest speech and debate scholarship in the nation because most speech and debate programs are small. And they were only giving out maybe $5,000 at most. And so people were doing like 15 other activities to, pay off their schooling. So I had half tuition. And I enjoyed my coach when she recruited me. But when push came to shove, we had two different ideas on what it took for me to be successful. And she was expecting me to be out on my own. I was expecting her to, be more hands-on. And we butted heads. And this is where I learned that you can have people that have very similar philosophical and religious views that can hate each other. you can. This is the first time I learned that lesson. If the tournament speech and debate world was not involved, and I met my coach under different circumstances, we would probably been, great friends. But just how some things went down, oh gosh, it was horrible. So, I butt heads with my coach the entire year, and this is where I encountered failure, because it wasn't it was the fact that I was failing to go to tournaments. I was failing to be successful in something that had defined myself for several years. I'm looking at all these complications, and it's like, how do I come out of this? So I grow a goatee, like a long goatee. So now imagine 6 foot tall African American gentleman. He has a black leather jacket that goes down to his ankles. A goatee that's probably like, I say, like, when I fully pulled it out, maybe it's like 4 inches off his chin straight down. Now then also imagine that he parts that chin hair and cuts it a little bit down the middle so it forks. Yep, that was me. That was me. I looked scarier than nothing else. And the funny thing was, I was getting a theology degree. So I had all these people afraid of me on campus, and I was very polite. I never ran around like, I hate you, crackers. I never did anything like that. But, somehow I'm the scariest dude on campus, and it's like, people, really? The guy that sits and talks to people and counsels people, that looks to, have mediation. I'm the scariest guy on campus, not the guy from the volleyball team that went and got a couple of chicks drunk and, had his way with them. Oh, he's not scary, and I am. So, started to learn some things about, image. Anyway, my coach left my sophomore year, leaving me high and dry, and if it wasn't for my grandmother writing me letters, I wouldn't have had half tuition. So I ended up working in the weight room, cleaning, pretty much cleaning up after people, after the baseball team, after whoever was in there. And I'd done work grant in the past. That wasn't really a big thing for me. So I just took the time to study and do my homework and technically get paid astronomical amounts of money to work 1 hour a day. So, you didn't ever see me complaining about that. I worked out. I started lifting seriously. I got on the treadmill, got on a little stationary bike. I was doing good stuff. I started developing shoulders. I actually started to become, a very larger, wide gentleman. So that was fun, Then I entered into this, I do politics phase. At the end of my freshman year, I had some stuff on the front of my door that led out into the hallway, and so people commented on what I had on my door, and the dorm council told me I had to take it down. So I was very, very pissed off with that. Yeah, very pissed off. So at the end of the year, I ran for dorm council secretary, and because my school was so apathetic, I won. Now, no, a lot of people didn't know who I was, really didn't like me, and a lot of folks were scared of me. And all of a sudden, I'm in charge of taking minutes for our meetings. This does not bode well, okay? So, all the rules that they had for pretty much the stuff that they had on the door, I got rid of that my sophomore year. And I started writing to the newspaper. And so a couple of my friends, I actually did have friends, said, hey, man, go write for the newspaper. We need more people to write. So I would write op-ed articles for the newspaper my sophomore year. And I would hang out and, help them out on whatever they needed. And they taught me how to do layout. So I know how to lay out a newspaper. Well, I learned the beginnings of laying out a newspaper, and so it was an interesting time. I was learning how to use public speaking in a different field, and just pretty much communicate my ideas through print. So, time progresses. I go from dorm council secretary to dorm council president. So now I really control money. So I would go out there. We had like a budget. We would get a set budget each year. And so I would throw parties and stuff for the dorm, and then no one would show up. So then I said, well, if no one shows up, why don't I feed myself and my friends off this money? So what I would do is I would take $50 out, request $50, and we would go to Jason's Deli. And I would buy $50 worth of food of what me and my friends wanted. I would put up posters about 2 to 3 days ahead of time saying, dorm council meeting, we're going to talk about blah, blah, blah. Okay? No one ever shows up, but I have food. We're in the lobby. We're in the lobby where everyone has to go through. Okay? And we're sitting there just eating food, having a meeting. And no one's like, hey, can I have some of that food? Even though that's all they had to say is, and I would have had to say, yes, here, have a sandwich. Everyone just asked, what's going on? And I would say, dorm council meeting. And they would be like, oh, okay. And then walk to their room. So people, do not be apathetic if you're in the college age. Go get involved in that stuff, because there's free food to be involved. And there's money. Okay, so I'm doing all this. I'm writing about various stuff in the newspaper. I'm getting my degrees, and I do say degrees, and I'll tell you what I graduated with. And so I'm having a good old time. Just, I wouldn't say being a man around campus, because that really implies that people like you. But I was known. That's the best way of putting it. I was known. So I would go around and do a bunch of different things and download anime and have a great time. So my junior year comes up, and so I get offered the position to be the op-ed editor. Since I pretty much know how to do layout, it was awesome. This is also when I learned about donating plasma. So I donated plasma. So that I could go and me and my friend could go buy pizza that Friday. It was the most horrible process ever of donating plasma. But it was this evil cycle of I would eat pizza, and then when I run out of pizza, I would go donate plasma. And then, so then I said, okay, I'm tired of donating plasma. So I talked to our marketing guy. And I said, hey, is there a way for us to get free pizza every week? And he's like, yeah, if we could go and talk to, a pizza place, they might sponsor us and something. So pretty much what we set up, we would put coupons in for Papa John's every week into our newspaper. All right. And they pretty much had free advertising. The counterpoint is that they had to give us like 8 pizzas a week. Now, I mean, when you add it up, yeah, that could be sort of high. But if you look at their base cost, that's like pennies. That is pennies, okay? So I would every Tuesday night into Wednesday crack of dawn morning, we would do layout, and I would eat pizza for free. So the plasma donating cycle to buy pizza sort of stopped, because I learned, hey, order a flavor that not everyone wants, take what's left, and put it in your own refrigerator. And that's how you operate like a boss, son. That's what you do. So that was pretty much junior year, and minus add or minus student council. And I was messing with student council stuff and dorm council and the paper. So senior year happens, and I come into my own, and I'm like, you know what, man? I'm gonna be the shadow lord of this freaking university. Okay, I'm gonna make stuff happen. I'm not gonna be Al Capone, but daggone it, I'm gonna run some stuff. So pretty much, I had already recruited a good amount of people in my previous years. So I just like amped it up, and I just like said, hey, what do you want to do? Okay, I can make that happen, but I need this from you. You're smart, you're intelligent. I'm giving you an offer you can't refuse. And a lot of people took it. Like, think about it. If I give you free pizza and set you up so that you have all these prestigious things of activities after your name, and all said and done, all you have to do is just sort of walk in line, step with me, and help me out and give me information. Yeah, a lot of people would do that because a lot of the college students aren't smart, okay, nor ambitious, and by the time they are, it's too late. The ship has sailed. So anyway, and again, this is what happens when you deal with apathetic and lazy people. You can have one person with any sort of ambition just rule them all. So that's the lesson, people. Don't be apathetic, or else you'll end up with somebody worse than me ruling you. Anyway, so my senior year, I went from managing editor to editor-in-chief, and I was the first African-American editor-in-chief of the newspaper. I had all my friends on the student council. For the student senate, about 85% of those people were placed by me. I couldn't do dorm council anymore just because of time, but I just put all my friends in charge of dorm council. So whenever anything happened, I would show up. We would eat food. Whenever I had stuff going on in the newspaper, they would show up and eat food. Whenever anything was going on in student congress, would show up and eat food. So it's this magical cycle of if you keep people fed, they will be your friend in college. Again, I think I forgot if it was Stalin or Mussolini. I think it was Stalin that said, if he took a chicken and plucked all the feathers out of it, and then took a handful of breadcrumbs and then put the breadcrumbs in front of the chicken in his hand, and the chicken ate out the hand of I think it was Stalin. And Stalin was saying that you can pluck the people and you can defeather the people, and as long as you control the food, they'll come back to you. Well, this sort of proved true. So anyway, at the end of my senior year of undergrad, I graduated with a theology major, history minor, which was like 3 classes away from being a history major. I don't really regret it too much, but it would have added to some diversity on my resume. And I had a communications minor. So I know about sound theory. I know about image theory. I know about a lot of stuff. One reason why I'm on Twitter, but I don't do a ton of things on Twitter, is that I know the difference between a real persona and a fake persona. And unfortunately, I'm not calling out anybody in Heroclix land, please mind you. But really, Twitter is a lot of fake personaing, more so than real personaing. And Facebook more so than that. And you start learning in history what personaing is used for, and how that positions people in certain atmospheres and self-worth and various other things. So anyway, I said, hey, I got my theology degree. I'm going to leave this world of undergrad and go out and become a pastor. That did not happen. I learned a whole lot of things that I didn't know before. So then I go to grad school, and I went to Oral Roberts University. And I said no one knew, what Newman University was in the middle of Kansas. And it's like, okay. So I'm going to go to a place that's well known. So I go there and I study, have good times, bad times. I learned something very interesting. In spite of me seeing myself as just a normal guy, people can't see the fact past the fact that I'm a big, large African American male. And so I walk around the campus and I had a hood on because it's bright because I have light sensitivity. Like literally, I have those AccuView glasses that change the tint of my glasses so I can walk outside. Okay, so I have a hood up. I have a hoodie on, and I would have an angle so I could see, but you couldn't see half my face, so that the light outside in Oklahoma didn't blind me. And for those who lived in Oklahoma, you understand what I mean. And so, people would, talk all sorts of smack, and behind my back. That was sort of the worst part. It would be talked behind my back, and a lot of people were afraid of me. You have a big black African American male who wears a hoodie. Of course, that automatically means that he's violent and that he's going to go and do some evil crime. Forget the fact he's in seminary. He's violent. So, anyway, I ended up having some good mentors there. Dr. Holgren. Cat actually, he's from Australia, 6'4", tall, lanky white dude who's about 70-something years old. I'm sitting in his class, and pretty much what ended up happening, I had my hood up in class, just looking down at my computer screen. He lifts up my hood just a tad, and he says, "I see you." Now, for most people, that would be like, "Fool, why'd you touch my hood?" But at that moment, I sort of took a step back because at no point in time did anybody really acknowledge me as a person. There were a handful of people I associated with, but really, no one really came up and acknowledged me like, yeah, Edward's a person. And so it made our relationship quite interesting. And he taught me a whole lot of things for ministry, and it was great. I had a conflict in a summer class, and pretty much I was being myself. I will say this: I was a little bit more boisterous. I was a little bit more I hate the lack of the better word is flamboyant, but not in an effeminate way. If you can catch my drift. And so I was in a class, and it was all about saying about who you were and about trying to get over some things. And some people were using that class as free therapy. We were told that, hey, nothing in this class will be used against you. Well, I said something, which I'm not going to repeat the statement because, I don't want to, inflame anybody. And I don't want it to go off track on it being about that statement. And so I made this statement. Then these three ladies go and character attack me for 2.5 hours. And pretty much, even when the teacher tried to move the conversation on, they kept attacking me. And so the only thing I could just sort of do is sit there and take it. So I'm in my head, part of me is like pissed off, and the other part of me is like trying to defend what's going on. So I split my brain in two. Now, for anyone that's done that, when you're having two simultaneous conversations going on, it's a hard thing. And it doesn't lead to the best mental stability overall. Okay? So after the 2.5 hours, break is called. So I decide to sort of remerge my mind and deal with my anger. Okay? So I'm really trying to deal with my anger and focus, and so then someone else is like yelling my name, and I break my concentration. And let's just say you don't want a 6-foot-tall black man all of a sudden sounding like Darth Vader because he's so mad he can't control his voice. And so then all of a sudden, I said the second phrase. Then all of a sudden, I become the potential next Virginia Tech guy from their perspective. And all I really said was, get out the way. I don't want to hurt anyone. So I get kicked out of school. For something that was not even academic based. So I get kicked out of school. And I've been told I couldn't come back to school for a year. I had to do counseling stuff. And a bunch of different things. So I also understand with people, hey, if you go to a psychiatrist or whatever, doesn't mean you're crazy. It may mean you have an issue you have to deal with. So in that year time off, I went and talked to the counselor, went and got a job. I worked for a subcontractor for Sprint. So I learned how to hack your phone, son. That's the last thing that the world really needed. Dark logos, knowing how to hack your phone. I sort of came to terms with a lot of stuff. Heck, I get angry a lot, and I have processed anger in a very bad way and multiple times. And so coming terms to that, it also came out in some of my competitiveness. So I had to process all that. And you're going to be like, Dark Logos, you're telling us all this stuff. This is like, inside the movie. Or not inside the movie. It's like behind the scenes. What was it? Behind the music. Yeah, there it is. Like behind the music, Dark Logos edition. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. So I go back to school a year later. And it was sort of awesome because all the people that pretty much had a problem with me were gone. And so there was this new batch of people. And so with this new batch of people, I was able to start over and get some really good friendships out of it. And some people were able to, see my position on things a lot clearer. And there was less friction. And so I would say, hey, yeah, getting kicked out of school was one of the best things that happened. And I became a lot better of a person. So I'm gonna graduate 3.4 GPA. Yeah, I really didn't try. Like I just sort of just sat back and did my homework. I know I could have gotten a 4.0, or at least a 3.8, but I didn't try. And then the lesson to kids is do try, because later on you're going to look back and it's like, I knew I could have tried. That's sort of wasted opportunity. Fast forwarding a bit, we get to, I say 2010. Yeah, I think it's 2010. Somewhere around there. Yeah. And, of course, I'm out of school. I'm working. I'm a normal Heroclix person like you. And then, I forgot. I did judge and play Heroclix when I was in grad school. And I actually got into Heroclix when I got out of undergrad. But, yeah, you don't care about that stuff. Nah, that's not important. Anyway, so I'm a normal Heroclix player, just, hanging out on, looking at, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen in Gen Con? The game's back. And so I see, George play the mystical I control your fate team. And I'm like, man, that is awesome. And I listened to Clixcast. Yeah, believe it or not, I did listen to Clixcast. Because I was looking for, it was the only Heroclix podcast. And, Steve and Gouda were talking. And I'll just straight be blunt. What they said about George was horrendous. And what they put in the comments was divisive. And it pissed me off. It royally pissed me off. Because when you have prominent members in the community say, he's not my Heroclix champion. He is the Heroclix champion he's the champion of the Heroclix system. When you hear somebody say that, you're like, really? And then you listen to the comments of, all he did was play cheese. He didn't play any really good comic book team. All he did was abuse the system. And so it became frustrating. So that's when I did starting area. Because I was like, okay, let me introduce some actual good information into, the community. So I did starting area, which you won't find those episodes anymore. I took them all offline, and I'll tell you about that in a second. And Glass Cabinet Films was starting at the same time. So we were both promoting on the front page of not the front page of AC Realms, on the general discussion thread of like, hey, check out my show, new episode up, here's this, that, and the other. So we were doing this, and it was sort of funny because I was like, okay, who's this guy? And I'm thinking like, man, all he does is that unboxing stuff. That ain't nothing. And I was a little bit petty, and I was like, yeah, I talk about tactics. That's what's up. I'm going to be the next Cran Company. So, anyway, we both were advertising and having a good old time. And then Typhon comes in, and he says, and I'm gonna clean it up a bit because we did have some words in between each other of like, I don't want you promoting on AC Realms. And I said, well, okay, well, what if we do business? What if I, say I want to cover Gen Con? I said, I have eventual plans for the show. I want to go and eventually cover Gen Con. I want to be able to have T-shirts out. I want to be able to have interviews with, the champions, world champions. I want to, I pretty much laid out a pretty solid business plan. I said, hey, let's do business. So we go back and forth. I tell him my production cost. I tell him, because at this time I had a friend of mine who was a professional photographer and cinematographer shoot my show and do my post-production. And what I was paying for my post-production for that show and what I was telling Typhon was my actual production cost, I actually undersold what my actual production costs were actually valued. So I told him it's $100 per show. In actuality, for actual production time that I was spending, it was more like $700, $800 per show minimum. But I didn't tell him that. So he was like, I want you to do a show that is, no production, just you talking. And I was like, I've done the numbers. And I saw him the hits. Whenever I did a show, this is behind the scenes, and you see the Wizard of Oz and the levers and all that other stuff. One reason why Glass Cabinet Films does way better than my show in terms of subscribers and just overall views. Whenever you do a show that has special effects, it doesn't matter what the special effects are, that show's number of hits goes up exponentially. Okay? Which Glass Cabinet Films does a great job in that. I'm not knocking that. My starting area show was like that. Okay? Then, when you go down to the next level, guy in front of webcam, which is what I was doing, the number of hits drops. You lose a third to half of your viewership. Okay? Then you have, below that is picture and guy just running voice. You lose half of what you had from there. Okay? So I had on Blip, because I was on Blip at the time, blip.tv, I had views when I was on the general discussion page. Per show, I got 1,000 views per show. Minimum. Then when I downgraded to me being on just a guy in front of a camera, I downgraded to from 1,000 to 500 views. So you're talking with Blip, even though you enable monetization, you're talking about you're getting less money than what you got before. And trust me, Blip hadn't, and all the time I dealt with Blip, Blip never paid me out, which is frustrating because there's money still sitting on the table that Blip owes me. It's not a ton of money. It's literally change, but I'm not going to get. Anyway, so you have that. Then once you downgrade to podcast, which is what I ended up eventually doing because Blip at that time posted podcast, then yeah, like your viewership goes down to crap. The number of subscribers that I had on the podcast was like 40 something. And so some people were like, well, Dark Logos, well, why don't you go back to, being on iTunes? Well, iTunes doesn't pay you. It splits your viewership. And not only that, when you look at half or 2/3 of your viewership goes to iTunes, it becomes a really big problem if you're trying to make any change off of the money. Any change off of the show. So, going on, so Typhon and I had some words, and then I was like, okay, you know what? If it goes down this route, if I kept doing the show, I was going to get banned from HC Realms. So, I was like, all right. I did a thread saying, hey, I don't want to cause drama. I'm closing my show. So I got some applause. They're like, you handled this classy, good for you. I'm like, all right. So next year happens. Like I had stopped dealing with my show. I got some positive feedback. Like big up to Tidge. Tidge from AC Realms, like I wanted to have him on my show, and he just said, "Nah, I'm not up for that." But Tidge really encouraged me in doing starting area, and he's pretty stand up guy. So I give a round of applause to Tidge. So anyway, next year, next Gen Con happens. Okay, I'm listening to. Oh, gosh, it's really hard for me to admit this because it sort of makes me a sadist if you think about it. So I'm listening to Steve and Gouda again on their podcast, and they're talking about Gen Con, and it's like they didn't learn their lesson. Next year. They're just pretty much crapping on Dan. Dan played Cheese. He played Nightcrawler Cheese. Oh yeah, we always know Metron's overpowered. He just maximized the Heroclix system. He really didn't play Heroclix. And Gouda's trying not to say anything too coarse, but Gouda's mouth opened up and spouted off, "He's not my Heroclix champion." Bull once more. And so I'm like, man, this is it. I'm tired of this. If this persists, then the belligerent win. Remember what I told you about undergrad? The apathetic get ruled by the people that have some sort of ambition. Okay? And so it wasn't just Steve and Gouda saying stupid stuff. It was the fact that we were having wars on HC Realms general discussion every other day about casual people ruining the game, hardcore people ruining the game, and just straight, I hate to say it for lack of a better word, lies on what was good tech. Like just straight lies. People will come up and say, oh, Speedball is great. He's one of the strongest characters in the meta. That's a lie. That's a bold-faced lie from the gates of hell. Okay? And so you had people coming in wanting to know good, sound advice, and because the stupid mobs have drove off all the wise people, like Cran Company, gone because of the masses. There were a couple of other straight, like Jarmy 123 used to post a lot more. He got a girlfriend, and then he also got driven off by the horde. I could go on and on with a list of people that I listened to coming up on Heroclix that were just gone, like Rock 810, what you did, what you play, how it do thread. It was one of the greatest tools of learning what was meta and what wasn't. Because you would actually get real field reports of what something did, how did it play. And you can actually say, this was the dice and this was the figure. Or this matchup just screwed this guy's team. Or you can even say, this guy's a bad player because he shouldn't have lost to that. Okay, but it was just the bold-faced lies. It was the dark age of Heroclix community. That's the best way I can say it. And the grand evil priest of it, in my opinion, at the time was Stephen Gouda. Okay? And I know this is going to get back, and I'm going to get a PM, and it's like, oh, dude, you said all this crap behind Stephen Gouda's back. And I'll tell you this. There was another occasion I pretty much told off Steve on HC Realms. So all this stuff that you're hearing now, I've already told him. So, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm going to go tell Steve unless you go give me, 5, HeroClix of my choice per month. I don't care. I already told him. And you can point him to this podcast. Now, I will say this in all fairness. Has he gotten better? Yes. But mainly because I'll have to say it, Jeremiah's on the show. Jeremiah is the only reason I really listen now. And Jeremiah is in the middle. If you look at podcasters and viewpoints on HeroClix, I'm on the far right. Or let me phrase, I'm on the far left. Meta, good now. Give me more meta, num. Jeremiah's in the middle of like fun, meta, competitive. Yeah, okay, cool. Theme. I'll dash that in there. I'm just playing this for fun. This is cool. And then on the far right is Steve. Okay? And so, anyway, we clash. So anyway, that's what really encouraged me to do Starting Over podcast. Because literally, I started my whole show over. I started my fan base all over. Literally, I should have went to YouTube, but I was on Blip, and that was something I still regret. Because if I stayed with it and I stayed on, if I was on YouTube, I would probably have a lot more subscribers. But anyway, I started to say like, okay, let's start this out in a strong lead. And so I went and I interviewed George Masu. And I said, I just sent him a simple PM like, hey man, I do this show. I think I was on episode 5. And I'm like palm sweating like, man, he's like he won the grand champions of HeroClix, like he's a super celebrity. Like, will he come on my tiny show? And I sent him a list of questions that I was going to ask him. He's like, dude, I'd love to come on your show. So I have him on, and my first interview with George, it was great. It was some of the most fun that I had in HeroClix conversations. And we did our interview, and then after the interview, we talked for like 2 more hours. So that was one of the great moments of the show when I realized I can talk to world champions. So the next person I tried to get on was Dan. No, it wasn't Dan. It was, I forgot the cat that made Nightcrawler's name. Because I wanted to give him a fair chance to say, his piece. And he turned me down, and he didn't really want to talk to me. And I gave him a list of questions. And the funny thing, people will harp on Nightcrawler, but for those that don't know the history of that Nightcrawler in particular, that cat went to HC Realms and said, what figure should I make? Okay? And it was like the moment where Jesus is riding in on the donkey into Jerusalem, and they're saying, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And they're throwing their palm leaves of like, you should make this character. And they'll lay it down, and he's walking, and it's like, you should make that character. And he keeps walking, and then all of a sudden someone throws the biggest palm leaf down and says, you should make Nightcrawler. And then everyone erupts, and it's like, Nightcrawler, 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 Nightcrawler. Okay. And then he gets up to the end of the road, and he says, raises his hand in a classic pose of, I shall make Nightcrawler. Amen. And then they were like, Hosanna! Hosanna! And then lo and behold, he comes back, delivers the goods, and he made a character that would stop the Sith meta, the structural integrity field meta, that I can hide behind a freaking barrier, and it's indestructible because I have structural integrity field, and I can TK that crappy little object anywhere I want, and just gradually move up, and then have Captain America shoot over the barrier. Okay? He pretty much said, nope, Nightcrawler gets past all that. And then, when we started to realize all the other things Nightcrawler can do, we started yelling, crucify him! Crucify him! Crucify him! And we lifted him on high, put him up on top of the highest hill that we could find, nailed him to that tree, and then lit it on fire. Okay? There wasn't even two other thieves on to the side of him. It was just him up there on that hill burning. And if you look at some of the cursed figures of Heroclix history, you have Fire Lord, con artist, but of course to no one else's mind, those were old figures. They didn't disrupt the meta as much as Nightcrawler did. So anyway, going on. I went and I wanted to give him a fair shake because I feel that the community just crapped on him, and then he just like sort of disappeared, in my opinion. But anyway, so I got Dan, and Dan is a cool cat. And interviewed Dan. I interviewed Ignis Mouse, the cat that does the Unclicked articles. Neo Shazam, mainly because I respected Neo Shazam and the tech that he was putting out. And he was putting out solid theme teams that were comic accurate, that were also could survive in the meta. And he gave a lot of good, just sound advice. Are there still people that I want to interview? Yes. It was awesome, recently being able to interview Normal View. And that was fun. But I really want to break that ClicksCast wall. And I think that's starting to happen. And I call it the ClicksCast wall is this. We pretty much know, and I'll say this respectfully, HC Realms has pretty much monopoly when it comes to access to the WizKids staff. They pretty much have a monopoly. I sort of reached out before trying to get somebody from WizKids to talk to me and never hear back from them. I could say, hey, I got a podcast, I got this many listeners, don't really hear back from them. But ClicksCast got the rules arbiters on there several times. And I tried to, get a rules arbiter in the past, and then they're like, well, I don't really know if I can come on, but they'll go on ClicksCast. And I'm sort of glad, I'm really glad that Push the Region and big up to Push the Region and really, big up to Glass Cabinet. I did talk a little smack against Ryan earlier, but I appreciate his work that he does. And again, folks will be like, oh, I'm going to go tell Ryan. I'll be like, no, I already told Ryan all this. And I even told Ryan I respect what he does. But, they sort of showed me that, okay, maybe if you're a little bit more determined, you can get some of the more, hidden, people in WizKids machine. So, Push the Region, they had, I forgot that whoever they had on, but he does, I think pretty much, not dial design, but pretty much helps figure out who's going to be on the set list. But really, if you think about it in the history of HeroClix, AC Realms has had a monopoly on that. And I'm starting to glad to see that we're able to break through that and that, And for some people, they're like, well, ClicksCast is not, it's its own show. And for those people that believe that, I have a bridge to sell you. Okay? Think about this. Steve does maps for WizKids. Steve does grid reality maps. HC Realms promotes grid reality and partially owns grid reality. Money is being exchanged. Okay, let's look at it even more. If you go look up the value of HC Realms as a website, there's a place called like Vampire Stat, or you can actually like look up for like the amount of hits that they have. There's places that can tell you their actual like AdSense value. Like whenever you go on to HC Realms, you see an AdSense ad. He has like 20 on every page, but there's places that track how much you get in AdSense ads money or AdSense hits, and then they sort of calculate how much your website is worth. HC Realms is worth about $90,000. If you were trying to buy HC Realms, it's worth about $90,000. Okay, so if someone ever came to me and said, "Man, Typh is really struggling," and I would say, "BS. He must not be managing his money right." Okay, but if you look at it, where's most of your exclusive WizKids information coming from? HC Realms. Where's the first place that the stuff is parked at most times? HC Realms. Figures.com on occasion Figures.com will get your Colossals first and your prize support first. But that's really about it. Heroclix World, big up to Heroclix World, will get a spoiler now and then, but I even started to wonder if there's been some... Now, this is me speculating. This is not news. If there's something that's gone on between Typhon and HC Realms in which, HC Realms and WizKids saying like, hey, can you not give spoilers to Heroclix World? Because if you go into the Lee and Typhon's history, that's a whole different other story. And I'm not going to talk about that. But when it comes down to this, who makes money with the information being there first? Typhon. Who makes money when they go and listen to ClicksCast? Typhon. Who gets to promote their product for free on HC Realms? Pretty much Steve. If you think it's not about money, it is about money. And even more so, it being about money, if you look at the AV section, you're going to notice something very distinctive. You may see Push to Region there, but you won't see anybody that's on YouTube. You won't see Oreo FL there, hardly. You won't see me there anymore. And you don't see Glass Cabinet Films. Well, why is that? You guys used to post there all the time. Well, we got exiled there because he was like, well, you're drawing traffic away. Okay, that's a fair statement. But we had stuff that was embedded. So people were staying on site. So where's the real concern at now? It's not there. He also told us if we were going to be on HC Realms that we had to turn off advertising. Why would we have to turn off advertising? Well, he didn't want anyone else making money off the site but him. And I'm like, okay, that's fair, but at the same time, I need money to run my show. Okay? Or at least some kickback. All right? And then some people might say, well, Dark Logos, you must be getting baller paid. I have not gotten paid out once. No lie. I didn't get paid out for Blip, and with AdSense, you have to get $100 before you get paid out. Okay? And I have not even hit $100 worth to be paid out. Straight transparency, people. Even between the blog and YouTube account, I still have not been paid out. So don't think that all of a sudden that it's like, oh yeah, Dark Logos is rolling in the money. Nah, not really. So, he tried to have a bunch of us get together and and say, hey, we should all, there should be some shows on AC Realms and about promotion. And then I had to, a bunch of us were real on it. It was straight up. He did a bad job promoting Clickscast because up until we said something, the graphic that advertised Clickscast was for GSX. And we were talking, we started talking, the Incredible Hulk was out when we started talking. No, not Incredible Hulk was out. Crap. What was last year in December? Actually, last year after Gen Con. Was it well, hold up. I'm trying to go back really and think. Was it last year or this year? No, it was this year. It was this year after Gen Con. Sorry. But, we had to say, like, this isn't worth it. Definitely for Ryan. Ryan does his unboxing stuff, and he takes his YouTube money, and he pretty much uses it to buy product, which goes for his show. It's like it's a more evil cycle than me donating plasma for pizza. Okay? So, pretty much when all is said and done, we were like, okay, let's come to an agreement. X amount of money exchange, from AdSense, X amount of money exchange from banner traffic, blah, blah, blah. We get X amount from merch, all this other stuff, and then the conversation died. So 1 month passes, 2 months passes, it's like we haven't heard anything. 3 months pass, it's like, man, really? Like, this is, like, we're left high and dry. So, most of us have just moved on, and we were just like, okay, we can't promote a commercial product on AC Realms. We're not going to do anything to piss people off. We're not going to do anything to start a war between us and AC Realms. We're just going to go and leave AC Realms alone. And you're going to find out there's a long history of other people that's done the same thing. And I'm not going to be like, Typhon's a bad, evil guy. No, he's not. But I don't agree with his business practices. I don't have to agree with his business practices. Okay? But he has a right to do it his way. I have a right to do business my way. And I can say, for all of you that found me through Glass Cabinet Films, big up to you. For all of you that follow me from, starting area, or just found me in general, or click me, my link at the bottom of my signature. Big up to you too. But, you got to understand, and don't be delusional and think that this is all being done for the fun of the game on everybody's account. No, there's money being exchanged. Some people are making more money than others. Okay? But this money's being exchanged. Now, for like, I would say for Ryan, for myself, yeah, our money is mainly going to, if like when I get money, it's going to go to pay for stuff for the show. Okay? Like all the codes for ACO Online, those were either those were either codes that I got personally off a product I bought, or codes that were given to me from other people in my area. Okay, so like Jake gave me a bunch of codes. But then you have a situation like Push to Regen, they're not commercial at all. And even they're sort of starting to wean off of HC Realms a little bit. Also, guys, man, update pushtoregen.com. You're an episode behind. Please, man. I have to go find your Podbean site to find the next episode. I love y'all. Y'all still need to be on my show. Love y'all, Push to Regen. Y'all make me laugh. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. That's a good chunk of my life, not all my life, up until now. Some cool stuff. I talked, if you check the blog and the Valentine's Day link that I have on there, a cat named Brother Wise had a song, and I talked to him personally, and he said I can use the song for the show. So, yes, that's pretty cool. So I'll be using the song for the show. Maybe this show, maybe the next show. I don't know. I got to figure out in post-production. I'm going to try to get the break song that I had on there for the intro. I'll do whatever it takes to get better. Well, it's actually called song's called Better, but from the breaks, it's THEBREAX. But I will try to see if I can get their permission to use that clip. If so, the intro is going to be back. But again, my main concern was I did not want to have problems with YouTube. But if I start getting problems with YouTube, then yeah, the intros are gone. So, but that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this show. Looking at Dark Logos and his life. I was going to try to have some random people on and talk about their views on the show and whatnot, but when I got in that car accident last Friday, that sort of changed a lot of things, and a lot of stuff I had scheduled just didn't pan out. So, all right, normal ending spiel. You could catch me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to email me, send me your team ideas. If you got meta questions, or just like, hey, Dark Logos, this is awesome, or this is bad. Give me your ideas. Let me know. Big up to Robert and Joachim Adler, and I think there's somebody else. I'm scrolling through my phone. Ray, Alexander, James. Is this James Justice? Yeah. All y'all cats, hit me up on my email. Big up to y'all. I actually enjoy talking with y'all during the week. Your successes, your failures, your what the heck ideas, and oh my gosh, that's freaking brilliant moments. So big up to all y'all on email. You can hit me up on Twitter at StartOverPod. At StartOverPod. Yes, it does sound like something that came from the deep blue lagoon, but oh well. Can't fit Start Over Podcast on Twitter. Go protest Twitter. And of course, you can check out the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. I will admit this last week I have been really, really bad about the blog. Car accidents will do that to you. Next week, I will really, really try hard to be on time. And how can I say it? Be in a position where I'm a little bit more prompt with my postings. So yeah, if you have any other ideas for a show, hit me up on one of those 3 venues, and I will, do the best I can to come back and see what I can do. And for those who have gotten all the way to the end, I will give you this last little bit of meta advice before we close out. Ray had brought up not Ray, was it Ray? Anyway, someone brought up the idea of, Robert, it was Robert, idea of support utility belt, that we have batarangs, we have all this other cool stuff that we can do as a secondary attacker or a support piece with the utility belt, and that we've mainly been focused on this high aggro meta. And my response to that really is this for all of you all. When we get all the objects on the utility belt, we can know a little bit better about what our support options will be. But the one thing that I've sort of been pondering on with the support utility belt is this. A support utility belt, you have just a full-on out, you pay for the full utility belt, you're negating team abilities. Once you negate your key team abilities, you are then shooting for popping off an object so that you can copy a team ability on your opponent's team so that you can then wildcard that team ability on your team. Okay, so pretty much you're having this character sit back in a passive role. You can have, when you're on outwit, you outwit. If you're on perplex, you perplex. You really try to stay as passive as possibly you can. But in being able to be your wild card magnet, or let me rephrase that, your wild card conduit, to channel all those good team abilities on your opponent's team to your wild card, could be one of the breakthrough tech pieces from support use of the utility belt. Because we have to look at this, is we're pretty much abandoning a lot of the offensive options until end game. So if we're abandoning the offensive options until end game, that means that everything that I need to do needs to power up my team from the beginning to mid game and as quickly as possible. I need to just like, come on, man, come on, another thing. You also are going to pay attention a lot to your refueling or whatever it is, your repackage or whatever it is that lets you get your items back. Because after you pop off, your bat radio things or your sonar or whatever else comes down the line, you're going to want those back. The next thing is price cost. I hate to say it, like freaking Wong is awesome for this, because Wong's like, man, as long as there's a mystical person with Perplex and Prob around, I do a power action and I can get Prob or Perplex. And then if Wong gets outwit, Wong will get outwit something, do a power action to get, Prob or Perplex. So now Wong, all of a sudden, for one turn, has outwit, Prob, or Perplex. He has whatever you need from your main support powers. And then you can go on and say, okay, at the end of the turn, I spin. Boom. Okay, I spin. All right, now I'm on this. Wong is copying team abilities for your wild card. Freaking Wong is Mystics. Wong is Superman ally. Wong is Superman enemy. Wong is, hand. Okay, so I like Wong. Ancient One, not as much. What was that cat's name? Go back to Incredible Hulk. He turns into Captain. I was about to say Captain Atom. Captain Marvel. Oh gosh, I've used him so many times and I blank. I see him there in his nice red coat, red jacket. You get him or the other guy with the same sculpt, and you can have some fun that way as well. Because at least, and this is where I'm going to cheat people. I am going to look it up right here on my phone while I'm talking to you. Normally I don't have to do this. And then the best part I can say is like, it's the car, Rick Jones. It's the car accident. That's why I forgot. It's the car accident. Forget the fact there's been 15 sets between, now and Incredible Hulk. But you take Rick Jones. Rick Jones double power action pushes. Now he's on Perplex. He's also on Outwit. He's on Outwit. He's getting carried around by your crew. He's thunderbolted to whatever you want him to be. And now Rick Jones is probably one of the most evasive, annoying support pieces that you can have for 10 points for the utility belt, and then another 8 points. So we're adding 18 points onto him. So we're looking at 66 points. So for 66 points, we can get somebody that can turn into anything our wild card needs off the bat. Okay, so we have Avengers and Spider-Man TA, so he can get that. You can assign him Thunderbolts, but he won't get that until he transforms. So I apologize for that. So he's a wild card. He can pick up stuff through utility belt. If he transform into Captain Atom, into Marvel, then you're able to use your Thunderbolts. Thunderbolt into, you can use your Thunderbolts, then not only have your Thunderbolts, but be copying other things that you need with your utility belt. So then you'll have a character that is Mystics or Superman TA or whatever, Power Cosmic, able to bring what else to your team? Whatever your opponent has to your team, and your wild card is like, this is the best game ever! Yeah, so someone go put that as your ringtone. Alright, that's it. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate you all. If it wasn't for you listeners, there wouldn't have been a 50th episode. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.